سمي السمات كبير الشان جليل القدر رفيع الذكر مطاع الأمر جلي البرهان فخيم الاسم غزير العلم وسيع الحلم كثير الغفران جميل الثناء جزيل الدعاء عميم الإحسان سريع الحساب شديد العقاب أليم العذاب عزيز السلطان ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى في قرآنه المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Respected brothers, sisters and elders, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, He also gave us free will. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, this is how you are to live your life. These are the things that are prohibited. These are the things that are encouraged, and everything else is permissible. So when He gave us the power and the ability to do good and to do bad, we now have a choice. The abilities and powers that we have been bestowed with, do we use them in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or do we use them in His disobedience? And this applies to every blessing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. And maybe, perhaps the most important blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or one of the most important blessings, is the ability to communicate, the ability to speak, the blessing of the tongue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. The tongue can be used to attain great rewards, and it can also be a means for incurring the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so it is incumbent upon us that we use this blessing in the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had intended for us. That we avoid those sins of the tongue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited for us. It is necessary for us. And if we are successful in doing so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us great reward. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said in a hadith narrated by Imam Bukhari, "Man yadman li ma bayna lihyayhi wa ma bayna rijlayhi." Whoever guarantees for me what is between his cheeks and what is between his legs. What is between your cheeks? Your tongue. If you can safeguard your tongue and you only use it the way you are supposed to use it, and you are not using it in a way you are not supposed to, the same way our purity, our chastity, the things that spouses are allowed to do if one does it with somebody else, the way that is haram. And it is incumbent upon us to save ourselves from those sins and from those evils. It is similarly necessary for us to protect our tongues. So he says, whoever guarantees for me his tongue and what is between their legs, أَضْمَنْ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ, I guarantee for him Jannah. If someone is able to control these two parts of their body, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet is telling us that He Himself will guarantee Jannah for us. If the Prophet is guaranteeing Jannah, what better of a guarantor do you need? So it shows us the importance of guarding our tongues. It is highly emphasized in our cultures, in our society, that we keep ourselves pure, that we don't have any illicit relations. But in the same line, in the same hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us, it is also important to guard your tongue. It can be just as dangerous. So much so that every morning, every single part of our body says to our tongue, every morning, إِذَا أَصْبَحَ إِبْنُ آدَمَ فَإِنَّ الْأَعْضَاءَ كُلَّهَا, every single udhu, every part of our body says to our tongue, ittaqillaha fina. Fear Allah regarding us. فَإِنَّمَا نَحْنُ بِكَ, because we are tabi' of you. We are following you. We are ancillary to you. فَإِنِ اسْتَقَمْتَ اسْتَقَمْنَا. If you remain straight, if you remain on the straight path, we will remain on the straight path. وَإِنِ اعْوَجَجْتَ اعْوَجَجْنَا. And if you deviate from the straight path, then so will we. So the tongue, if one is able to control his tongue, if one is able to control what they say, if one thinks what they are going to say and then speaks and analyzes, is there really a benefit for me to say, to open my mouth and to say something? And then he analyzes and then he speaks. So if someone has this much control over their tongue, they will have this much control over their body as well. They will, before they are about to do something, they will think and analyze, should I really be doing this? And then they will figure out whether they should do it or not. And on the flip side, if someone has no control over their tongue, they say whatever comes in their heart. They think later and they talk first. As they say, no filter. So someone who has no control over their tongue, chances are they will have no control over the rest of their body as well. The way they are trigger friendly or trigger happy with their tongue, they will be trigger happy with the rest of their body. So the foulness and the wickedness and the vileness of our tongue can transgress into our body. If our tongue is not in our control and we are committing sins with our tongue, it can lead to committing sins with the rest of our body. And if we are in control of our tongues, it can lead, the barakah of that, the blessings of that can lead to better control over the rest of our body and to avoid sins and to avoid doing those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited for us. So it is very important to control what we say. Make sure what you are saying is not impermissible, has not been deemed prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or His beloved Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. The severest of sins that one can do with their tongue is lying. One of the severest sins that one can do with their tongue is lying. So much so that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ayatul munafiqi thalathun idha haddatha kadhaba. He said there are 3 signs of a hypocrite. In another narration it says, even if that person fasts and prays, he does all these good deeds, but he has one of these qualities, one of these characteristics, he has one of the qualities of nifaq. He has one of the qualities of the munafiqeen, of the hypocrites. And the first one that he mentions, إِذَا حَدَّثَ كَذَبَ, when he speaks, he lies. The second one, وَإِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ, when he promises something, he breaks his promises. وَإِذَا اؤْتُمِنَ خَانَ, the third one, when he is entrusted with something, he violates that trust. And in our society, for some reason, lying has become very, very prevalent. The way lying to Muslims is haram, it is haram to lie to non-Muslims. The way lying to your elders is haram, it is haram to lie to those who are younger than you. It is haram to lie, period. There are very, very few cases in which it is permissible for one to lie, and that is when you have fear of loss of life, fear of limb. But in majority of cases, it is haram to lie. Yet, we see it very prevalent in our societies. You call someone, they're supposed to come to your house, how far are you? I'm on my way. He hasn't left the house yet. How much longer? 5 minutes? He's 30 minutes away. Did you get it done? Oh, it's done. He hasn't even started yet. It's very, very prevalent. If you tell him, listen, I didn't leave yet. I'm on my way. I got busy with something. I got whatever. Worst case scenario, he gets mad. He's going to get mad if you show up late anyway. So what's the point of this lie? What's the benefit of this lie? But the harms are immense. Being a sign of hypocrisy, is that not harm enough? Is that not enough of a deterrent for us to say, I don't want to do this? Backbiting and slander. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said, أَتَدْرُونَ مَا الْغِيبَةِ? Do you know what ghiba is? He said, ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ. You mention something about your fellow Muslim that will displease him. And one of the Sahaba asked, إِن كَانَ فِي أَخِي مَا أَقُولُ? If my brother has what I'm saying, I say something bad about him, and it's true. he is a liar. And it's true, he is a cheater. And it's true, he is whatever sin he does. And so Prophet ﷺ said, "In kana fihi ma taqulu faqad tabtahu." If what you are saying about him is true, this is the very definition of ghiba. This is the very definition of backbiting. And إِن لَمْ يَكُنْ فِيهِ فَقَدْ بَهَتَّهُ. And if what you are saying about someone is not there, is not true, you are saying he steals, but he is not a thief. You are saying he lies, but he is not a liar. At this point, it's even worse than ghiba. It's buhtan. It's slander. And slander is even worse than ghiba. Because in ghiba, at least what you're saying about him is true. And ghiba is not allowed. So buhtan, slander, when you're saying something about somebody else that will cause him pain, and at the same time you are lying, it's double the sin. And this also, it's very prevalent in our societies. And one major reason for this is some things Islam prohibits, but our culture says it's okay. And this happens to be one of those things. Backbiting and slander, we don't look down on it the way we look down on other things. If someone murders, if someone steals, we look down on it. They say this is bad. Whether they're Muslim or not, it's looked down upon. But backbiting, for some reason, if someone backbites, you engage with him. You start backbiting with, yeah, you know what, you're right, he also does this and that. And then at the end of a 30-minute backbiting session, he said, oh, but he's a good guy. He's okay. So our culture dumbs down these things. Our culture is making these things lenient, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made these things prohibited for us. He has made these things such that we have to avoid them. My friend would tell me his grandmother, mashallah, she would pray and fast and do everything she needed to do. She was from the village. And one day she said something about someone, and he said, oh, grandma, that's backbiting. She's like, so? I pray, I fast. It's not like I'm doing zina. It's not like I'm killing someone. It's not like I'm stealing from someone. It's just a little backbiting here and there. What's the big deal? So this is the mentality that we have about certain sins. And when your culture is on one side and when your religion is on the other side, always give preference to your religion. And finally, we waste so much time on vain talk, on things that are absolutely useless, things that have nothing to do with us. So-and-so celebrity or singer or actor or whatever, they got married, they got divorced, they got into a fight. Just pure gossip. You can go your whole life and that will not benefit you. Someone once told me so-and-so got divorced and it was a very ugly divorce. And I looked at him and I said, listen, I could have gone the next 100 years of my life and having not known this information, it wouldn't have made a bit of a difference. It's useless. What do I care? It's vain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the mu'mineen. He says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. The mu'mineen, the believers are successful. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those who concentrate in their prayers. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. And those who avoid things that are vain, things that have nothing to do with them. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Min husni Islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'ni." From the beauty of an individual's Islam is that he avoids those things that have nothing to do with him. So we waste so much time on these things. Politics, we spend hours and hours on politics. If it's local politics, state, US politics, it makes some sense. You want to have an educated vote. But in our home countries, you left the country 50 years ago. You're not going to vote in Pakistan. You're not going to vote in Lebanon. You're not going to vote in your own country. And you have nothing to do with what happens there. And now you're going to vote, and now you want to spend hours and hours debating whether he should be the president or he should be the president. It's all vain. And this is something, anything a person utters, we will be held accountable for. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا يَلْفِدُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ. Any word that you utter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has angels who are writing it down, who are making sure, who are writing down everything you say, and you may be held accountable for it. So next time you want to say something, anything at all, think, is there any benefit in the akhirah or dunya for me saying this? Is there any benefit? Fine. If there's no benefit, is it at least permissible for me to say this? Even if there's no benefit, is it at least permissible for me to say that? Am I lying about something? Am I slandering? Am I backbiting? Is there any benefit to it at all? Make this analysis yourself and then come to a conclusion whether you want to open your mouth or not. And instead of wasting our time with these sins, why not use your time and your ability to speak in something beneficial, in something good, in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? In the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. About Yazid bin Muawiyah, he was responsible for the death, for the murder of Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an. There is a difference of opinion amongst the previous scholars, the fuqaha of this ummah, whether it is permissible to send la'na on Yazid or not. I don't want to get into that fiqhi disagreement, that fiqhi difference of opinion, but the point is Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, he says that the amount of time it's going to take for you to send la'na on Yazid, for you to curse Yazid, how much time is it going to take? 3 minutes, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds? Why not use that time and say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar? The la'na on Yazid, maybe it's permissible, maybe it's not permissible. If it is permissible, what benefit do you gain? But you do some sort of dhikr and you benefit from that. Recite the Quran. Every letter of the Quran, you get 10 good deeds. Alif Lam Mim, this is 30 good deeds that you have just attained right here. So this power that we have, the power to speak, the power to communicate, this ability that we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us, I gave you this power, I gave you this ability, how did you use it? Did you use it in that which I have allowed, or in that which I have encouraged, or did you use it in that which I have not allowed? And we can only be the judge for ourselves. We don't judge others, we judge ourselves. So do this own internal analysis, that do I have an answer that will be satisfactory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment? If yes, then you're fine. If not, then you rethink your own actions. We make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He enables us to act upon all we have heard and said. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadi alladhina istafa. Amma ba'd. Because the tongue is something that can be used to attain great reward, and it is also something that can incur the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It can be used to obey Him, it can be used to disobey Him. It's a double-edged sword. And so if someone is in doubt whether I should say something or not, just stay silent. Someone once asked a Hakim, a very wise individual, he says, why do you stay so silent? Why don't you talk that much? He said, there's benefit in me not talking. He said, if I am wise and I stay silent, it will increase my wisdom. And if I am stupid and I don't talk, it will hide my stupidity. This is why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawm al-akhir falyaqul khayran aw liyasmut. Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, if he's going to speak, say something good. Otherwise, stay silent. If you're going to use this ability, use this right. Otherwise, don't use this ability. We make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He enables us to use all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way He intended for us to use them. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم. واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله يذكركم ولذكر الله